Do you have a link I can throw out, by the way?
Sure, it's creating right now.
Okay, just if you could post that in the chat, I might be able to
Yeah, sure.
post it some places.
Just a second. I think I'm just gonna do it from my phone. Jokesters, welcome. Just a second, Duke. Well, I'm just gonna copy the link now. And then go to Discord. Yo, JS, thank you so much. Loco, what's up? So, you got it right?
All right, I got the link.
All right. I will also get Infantry Fortress. Can you create an invite for Infantry Fortress so I can actually pin it in the comments?
Yes, yeah.
For live stream?
Get that.
Yeah, sure. Yo, what's going on, everybody? We got Duke from Infantry Fortress. He is simply the infantry god. So I'm super excited. If you have any questions to ask Duke, feel free to ask. And we are going to review the new infantry commanders, obviously. Because they look crazy, right? Elijah, what's up, mate?
Yes, they do.
Guys, I told you that Kingdom 93, 1093 is like simply, it's like official source. If they leak something, they are correct. I mean, please, come on. You told me that that's April Fool's? No way. It's Kingdom 1093. It's always official. Oh, I didn't know that I can actually create invite links for other channels, so I got the link for Infantry Fortress, no worries.
Just make sure that you make that so it doesn't expire in 7 days.
Oh right, the expire thing, right? I forgot that. I'm super new to this Discord thing or YouTube thing. So
oh, not a problem.
Let me double check. Infantry Fortress, invite people. So, oh yeah, it says it expires in 7 days. I'm gonna do it never. Create link. Alright, I got a new one. And I go back to leaks. Yo, Cream, what's up? Welcome. Okay,
glad to be here.
Pinned it. Duke, should we start now?
Yeah, why not?
So my plan is to talk about Flavius Aetius first, because he is the, garrison commander, so people are more interested in Scipio. maybe we can quickly talk about Flavius, and then I think we need more time to talk about Scipio, right?
Yeah, that sounds good. I mean, again, it's we haven't seen these guys yet. We know their skills, so we can speculate. But any of the actual pairings, we'll just have to wait until they're out, and you can test them.
Yeah, that's for sure. That's for sure. So, about Flavius, though, we already said that he is the garrison commander. I will just quickly read the skills for people who haven't seen the commanders. So, this guy deals 2,300 damage to a single target, and if the target has been reduced to 50% of or fewer units, he deals continuous additional damage for 3 seconds, and every second 150. So in total, he deals plus 450 damage, and in total, this makes 2,750, right? So how you feel about this skill?
Oh, I mean, it's for a garrison, it's pretty astounding just quite how much of how much the damage is. It's I think the damage over time adds like an interesting dynamic to that, especially since with the condition being below 50%, that's basically, not as great for field, but against a rally, that'll always be active.
Yeah, that's almost active, right? All the time.
Yep. Um, if you look at just how big a damage modifier Zenobia is, it's pretty significant when you're comparing it to what the current rallies are going to be. So I
Yeah,
think
so
as
that's a great skill.
you'll see mostly Flavius as secondary, you'll want to augment that damage buff as much as possible.
Yeah, that's for sure. That's for sure. So his second skill is 15% attack bonus, and in garrison it's 15% defense, 15% health. So in total, 45% of stats. How do you feel about that?
I mean, again, it's 45% stats. That's just overall a fantastic skill. A lot of people are going to be looking to use Flavius in the field. This is in for open field, not that pretty underwhelming, just 50% attack, but
Yeah, that's pretty bad.
overall, it's a solid skill.
Hmm. So his third skill increases troop counterattack damage by 20% when maxed, and when troops are garrison, normal attacks inflict a debuff on the target that increases the damage they take from infantry by 1% for 15 seconds, and stacking up to 10 times when maxed, and this can trigger every 10 seconds. So we can go up to 10% damage taken from infantry. I mean, how do you feel about this skill? I think this is also superb when you consider counter rallies, right?
Right. I think this is going to be a big deal, especially paired with the expertise, because again, this is built for those garrison situations where the rally is going to be going on for a little while, and you're going to get those stacks pretty quickly, and
Yeah,
then that's
yeah,
just going to
that's
be
right.
consistently improving all your damage and the nuke, the counterattack, normal attack damage, everything.
Yeah, it just simply increases everything. And in his next skill, we also have that increases all damage dealt by 10% when maxed, and when launching a normal attack against a target inflicted with an additional damage effect, which is in his first skill, there is a 100% chance when maxed of inflicting silence for 2 seconds, and this effect can trigger every 7 seconds. So you can simply silence your target for 2 seconds every 7 seconds. I think this completely kills XY. No?
Um, well, it depends because it's power it's pretty good, but I would say again it just sort of works as a delay of sorts, right? Like you're slowing down potentially the skill cast regularly, but it doesn't necessarily guarantee it's going to land on
Ah, yeah, of course. Of
a
course.
commander's active every single time. I think it's a very good disruptive skill, and again, if we're talking about for field, it's nice with that Scipio expertise, but I think people may be reading into quite how powerful it will be a little much.
Hmm.
It should just be a steady, a pretty reliable thing to affect rage, especially like you said on commanders like XY.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I think you said the perfect word. Reliable is, I think, the perfect thing to explain this skill. And for his expertise, decreases all damage taken by 10%, which is nice. And we have the same thing.
Absolutely.
We have, when using active skill, 30% chance to inflict 2 stacks of a debuff. Again, this debuff increases their damage taken from infantry by 1%, and stacking up to 10 times. This effect can trigger once every 10 seconds. So in total, this guy can increase the damage taken from especially infantry 30%. What do you say?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, when you combine that with Xeno's active buff, if you're running Xeno Flavius, then you're going to have a 60% all damage buff to Flavius's nuke
Yeah.
every time that gets cast once all these buffs get into effect. So that's pretty remarkable.
So when it comes to Flavius, I assume that the first pair that comes to mind is Zenobia primary and Flavius secondary, right? Do you have other
Yeah.
options?
I think Xeno Flavius is going to be the go-to for most people. There could be some use with Flavius YSS, but I'd wait for testing on that.
Yeah, definitely. Flavius YSS might be good, but something happened.
But
As Crane, yo, what's up, Crane? Thank you for subscribing. But yeah, just like you said, primary Zenobia, secondary Flavius looks, at least on paper, it looks amazing, right?
right, right. I think that's definitely my takeaway pair here. And now that does kind of remove the ability of YSS to mix troops in a flag, but I think Xeno's needed this buff for a while now with Gilgamesh, and now Attila Nevsky really
Yeah,
put the
definitely.
hurt on him. So
Yeah, that's right. Zeno needed to come back to the field. I mean, to the garrison, of
right,
course.
and I think Flavius just makes a perfect secondary for her. Now,
Yeah,
I for a while used Xeno YSG now back before
really.
John Yu and Gilgamesh came out. Yeah, so originally, for people who didn't have YSS, that was a pretty solid pairing just because, again, Xeno is a fantastic damage buffer. So you take someone who has a raw nuke like YSG and you pair that with Xeno's 30% all damage and her general tankiness, and it worked reliably against lower level garrisons. I think that principle is going to basically be in effect here, where you have just this massive nuke, and even though it's not area of effect, it's going to hurt a rally a great deal.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. So this was Flavius,
Um,
guys. Do you have, and if you have any questions, just ask it in the chat so we can ask the best possible player in Rise of Kingdoms when it comes to infantry, and get some answers to our questions. Some people say, no, not some people, but Loco said, is KVK hammer worth crafting?
AVK hammer, not for most players. I think it's a great piece for your rally people, but I think just defense and march speed are what you should be considering more.
Yeah, that's right. So I'm actually debating on going for 4 pieces infantry set for my Guan Yu and Leo because they feel so slow. How do you feel about that? Is it a good way to do it, or you don't recommend it? What you say?
Give me just a sec.
Sure. And in the meantime, I'm just gonna keep reading your messages. Flavius Charles Martel. Let's ask about it. GS.
All right. So what was that last question?
Oh, sorry. My question was, how do you feel about 4 pieces infantry set with the weapon, for extra 10% movement speed?
Oh, that's actually what I run on Guan Leo right now.
Oh, really?
I'm a pretty big fan of that.
Oh,
Just with the
nice.
shield, right?
Yeah, yeah, with the shield and helm, gloves,
Yeah,
and the boots.
shield, helm, gloves, and boots. Now, I think if you're going out of the infantry set, and the infantry set, I'll be frank, is probably the weakest of the three sort of troop sets
Yeah, I definitely agree with that.
in terms of like what you get compared to the epics and non-set bonuses,
Hmm.
but it's still the march speed is really, I think, my favorite buff out of that, especially on a march like Guan Leo that really needs that extra
Yeah,
speed.
yeah, yeah, definitely. They are they are super sad, especially like compared to Alexander and all the other March speed guys. Guan Liu
Absolutely, yeah.
always the last March that arrives. So
That's why I'm also a big fan of the wind scars.
oh yeah, I also use Wind Scars. I use Horn of Fury and Wind Scars Talented on my Guan Yu because he really
Yep,
needs that, in my
that's a
opinion.
good setup.
Do you have time? I mean, can I ask other questions or should we move to
Absolutely, yeah.
second commander? Oh, that's great. So, one of our subscribers asks, Scipio Flavius is good for open field or Flavius is just for garrison?
Now I like the fact that they kind of made Flavius a lot more appealing for open field than Zenobia.
Uh-huh.
I've even tried Zenobia a few times, but it's just not any good in the open field.
Yeah, that's
Flavius,
right.
on the other hand, you do have that strong nuke, even though he's only getting about 15% in raw stats. You have a bit of all damage and counterattack damage to throw around. So he's definitely just a bit of a raw cannon.
Yeah, I mean, he's a
If
lot
I'm
better than Zenobia on the field, that's
right,
for sure.
if I'm a if I'm a field player, I'm not going to touch this guy. I
Yeah,
think
yeah, yeah, yeah.
there's just much better strictly field commanders. But if you're someone in my position where you're going to be maxing him anyway to be running him in garrisons and field kind of has to take a second priority for you, then yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's for sure.
I
But
could see Scipio Flavius being a good pairing. You're going to get that 30% debuff and then follow it with a 2300 nuke. So
yeah, for sure. But I mean, for 95% of, I mean, even 99% of players, we mostly care about open field because
right,
the
right, and
garrisons and
for and
rallies for the big guys, and that's why I would say we have higher priority commanders before Flavius for open field. And one more question is Flavius and Charles Martel. I think he's asking for
uh,
garrison.
for Garrison, I would avoid Martel at all costs.
Yeah,
Definitely in Season of Conquest, it just doesn't cut it anymore.
yeah, he doesn't cut it right.
Now for Field, Martel Flavius, maybe.
Yeah,
I guess
maybe.
it's a
So
little tanky. You got a lot of counterattack on that. You've got to get that 30% all damage bonus for Flavius's nuke again. I strongly don't recommend this guy for field players. Just stick with Scipio. Go make a Nevsky, Jean Yu. Like there's some great field commanders out there. You never need to worry about this MG commander.
yeah, like even if you're an infantry main, you don't have to go with like 5 or 6 or 7 infantry marchers, right? That
No,
we have a lot of
no,
good
definitely
options
don't do
from
that.
different troop types. So don't go for Flavius, guys. If you are an open field player, if you are an spender, I mean, a big guy, a big boss who rallies or defends garrisons. If you're in open field, don't go for Flavius. Now,
Yep.
I really want to quickly thank to Colin Gutierrez for subscribing. Thank you so much. Now we move to the big boy, Scipio Africanus. Again, I will quickly read his skills very fast and we will talk about them. So, he deals direct damage up to 3 targets in a forward facing fan shaped area. Damage factor goes up to 2k. And damage dealt for each target is always, this is the regular thing, reduced by 15%. And successfully hit targets also suffers from 30% reduced health for 3 seconds. What do you say, Duke?
I'd say this is what we've been waiting for a long time. I mean, Guan really kind of set a new standard for open field, and since then we just haven't really seen anyone like this for infantry. Just fantastic damage skill with a debuff that strong. So
Yeah, I love this skill. I mean, I'm just curious about like, is this fan shaped area like Ethelflaed's or Sun Tzu's? That's what
I'm
I'm
probably
wondering.
going to guess this might be a tighter one than say you're probably closer to like a Guan Yu fan than a Leo fan.
Yeah, probably. I mean, this skill is already
Yeah.
so good. Like making it bigger will be like crazy, right?
Right, right. And I think it's intentional that they only restricted it to three targets instead of five like
Yeah, yeah,
XY.
definitely, definitely.
So,
Uh,
but
so
again, just
yeah, please go ahead.
absurdly strong open field skill for anyone really. And the fact also that you can use him secondary to Guan or whoever you're gonna on your as an infantry march. This basically, if you're going to run an infantry march, you should have this guy in your lineup.
Yeah, you gotta have him right. So his second skill says increases infantry units attack by 40%, march speed 15%, and march speed outside of alliance territory another 10%. Like that's basically 90% of the time you are outside of your alliance territory, unless you are losing super hard. So he got 40% attack, 25% movement speed. I mean, I already know that you love the movement speed, but I mean, 40% attack is great, right? I mean, 40% stats
Yeah,
plus
no, this is
25%
like
movement
a
speed.
this kind of reminds me of like an Alex skill, just heavy attack, lots of move speed, exactly what you want.
Yeah, like that's a really nice skill. His third skill is increases health by 20% and grants each attack a 10% chance to deal continuous additional damage for 3 seconds, 500, so 1500 damage in total, and this can trigger every 8 seconds. I also really like this skill. I mean, I love health bonus and plus 1500 additional damage factor. I mean, we know how frequently we can hit with Alexander's 10% chance skill, so this is exactly the same. I think it's just too much damage. This is crazy.
There is a slight difference between this and Alex's nuke, and just that Alex's nuke doesn't have a cooldown. But this one is again fantastic. I'm a huge
Oh, that's
fan of
right. That's right. He doesn't have a cooldown,
instant
right?
proc damage. Yeah, yeah, and again, Alex is just a fantastic commander and always
Yeah,
has been.
I love him. Yeah.
you know, but with Scipio, this is an interesting skill because just the condition on that health bonus, it makes it so it's going to be a little punishing when you're pulling your march back
Yeah, when
because
retreating,
you have
right?
to be attacking for that health bonus. Yeah, so definitely he's vulnerable to sort of like when he's retreating.
Yeah,
But
definitely. You need to attack him to get the 20% health bonus.
yeah, so it's just something to be aware of when you're pulling back that you're going to be more vulnerable than some of your other marches, just because you're also losing. In addition to probably having lower troops, you're going to be losing that 20% health.
Yeah, that's right. Let me quickly close my camera so people actually can read the skills. 1 second. Nice. Uh, Michael, hello, bro. Do you think that new CPO will replace Leo behind Guan? In a few moments, we will talk about the pairs, and you will probably get your answer because we got the Infantry Beast, Duke from the Infantry Fortress. By the way, guys, in the pinned comment, I left the link for the Infantry Fortress Discord. If you are an infantry player or if you have any infantry marches, definitely go ahead and check that Discord for sure. I've been on Discord for a very long time, and there's just so much information when it comes to infantry. Now, his next skill is when troops on the map take skill damage, there's a 50% chance of reducing that damage by 30% when maxed, and forming a shield that covers up to 3 allied troops for 3 seconds, damage factor 500. This effect can trigger every 8 seconds, so in total this is a 1500 shield for your troops. How do you feel about it?
The shield is interesting. Now, 500 direct damage factor is not a lot.
Yeah,
It's a very small bonus, but it isn't the main interest I have in it is just that regardless of what march Scipio is on, this can help trigger Guan's expertise.
yeah, definitely. That
Right, you're
was the
getting
first thing
that
that came
shield
to
with
my mind.
15% skill damage. Um, this skill is probably the least interesting of his, which is why I think for a lot of players, especially those looking to save on heads, 5551 is going to be, sort of that early benchmark
Hmm.
because you're getting most of his damage at that point, and even at 10%, you're sort of getting a good amount of the skill.
Yeah, that's right. So, can I ask two stupid
Um,
questions about this skill, very quick?
Absolutely. Go ahead.
So, my first one is, man, this is gonna sound so stupid. It says it covers up to 3 allied troops. So, uh, does this also applies for Scipio, or it doesn't apply for Scipio and it applies
To
three
my
allied troops?
understanding, right, right. To my understanding, it will prioritize your own marches. So it'll always go for, if you have three marches in the area, it's always going to focus on yours first, and it always prioritizes itself first.
Oh,
So
all
in
right.
reality,
So,
this is Scipio and then two allies.
oh, that's great. That's great. And
Yep.
my second question is, this it says this effect triggers once every 8 seconds. It also includes the skill damage reduction, right? It's not just about the shield. So skill damage reduction also have 8 seconds cooldown, right?
I believe it will, yes.
Yeah, probably because otherwise we have no
Yep.
cooldown on this one, and this will be broken.
Right. Well, on the whole, I think this is just going to be in general, mild damage, damage reduction ability. Like, nothing on the level of obviously Bakal, but
Oh no, no, definitely, yeah. Pakal is crazy on that.
right, just it's nice for triggering that Guan Yu proc. Maybe you get lucky and cover some skill damage, but it's just a moderate damage reduction buff.
Yeah, as I said, this is the least important skill, and it was actually one of my questions. Minimum investment for CPO, and you already answered that. So, if you guys wonder what is the minimum investment for CPO, Duke says 5551 if you want to save your heads, because his fourth skill is the least exciting one. We will get to expertise in a very short time, but first I want to read the chat because there are so many messages. Uh, what will counter to new garrison? So what is going to counter Zenobia and I can't even remember his name, Flavius?
Flavius, yep.
Yeah,
We'll just have to see. I mean, Gilgamesh does a fantastic job countering Zenobia already with the heal
yeah, heal debuff, right?
debuff, but we'll it's going to be hard trying to match all that damage output that Flavius has, but I'm not going to pretend to have answers here. We're just going to have to wait for the on-field
Yeah, yeah,
in KVK testing.
that's right. We need to see that. Man says, I will say pair CPO Legend with CPO Epic. That's memeable. You actually cannot do that if you can read this little sentence here. Epic CPO and Legendary CPO cannot be used in the same March. So, RIP memes. Hellboy, welcome.
Um,
And Baby Rico says, Duke for the win. That's right, baby. We got the best player that we can ever get as a guest here when it comes to infantry commanders. Mr. Hunt says CPO Alex, Guan, Leo, Pakal, Harold, ended. Can't go wrong with Guan. CPO Alex might. Oh, okay. So he says CPO Alex may not be good. The shields might cancel each other. This was also one of my questions. Can you please give an answer to that?
yes, they will cancel, but again, I think in this sort of damage meta, especially since the KVK buff changed to all damage, shields just take up a very, very short time before, they run out, they sort of disappear. I wouldn't be worrying too much about canceling shields or anything like that. Like, one may hit the other, but at the end of the day, it's a very, very small damage reduction buff for you. The only thing I worry about with the shields around Alex is when I have Alex's secondary, I want to keep attack buff on his that attack buff it up when firing skill damage.
Yeah, that's right.
So it's not fun when that kicks into a defense buff before you fire a skill and sort of lowers your damage output.
Correct. So one more questions before we move on to his expertise. Nuno says, what do you think is the ultimate infantry equipment for open field? 4 pieces set or KVK pieces? I think Eternal Night or Karak's Humility for the legs, and for the chest, many people uses Hope Cloak. And for the other 4 pieces, he says KVK weapon, KVK helm, and 2 from the set piece, or just from the set piece?
Oh, well, it kind of depends. If you're going for that, if you want the march speed, then you go for the four piece. And I know a lot of marches that just do better with it. Again, go on Leo. I'd rather have a bit of march speed. But if you're looking for strictly stats, the best the best gear for stats would be both of the KVK pieces, the set boots and gloves, and then Eternal Night, Hope Cloak, and whatever accessories you want.
Yeah, yeah. So you got your answer. And last question, HM asks you, Duke, and he says, do you think Guan Leo is still the best for open field infantry? Please answer.
Um, so I would say with Guan Leo, a lot of people have been asking sort of what Leo's place is now that Scipio seems to be sort of this better secondary.
Yeah.
And I hear this a lot anytime a new commander comes out because Leo's always had a bit of a mixed reputation, right? Like some people really appreciate how tanky he is. Some people don't like the lack of movement speed and what they see as a lack of damage.
Yeah, and
I would say,
in history, since Leonidas is a crazy commander, people wanted that commander to perform a lot better because in reality,
right,
he is a crazy commander, right?
right. And I know like a lot of people, even when he came out, immediately reverted to Guan Alex over Guan Leo.
Yes.
Um, I felt like Leo has consistently been Guan's best pairing. And for me personally, I'm not going to be taking Leo out of my lineup for Scipio. I'd much rather put Scipio in another pairing. I
Definitely. We
think he's a
will,
fantastic commander, and I want to probably see him as primary.
yeah, we will get into that just in a second. And
Yep.
I will quickly go through his expertise. Increases skill damage dealt by 10%, and when target is silenced, rage grows 30% faster.
Yeah. So again, this is a decent expertise. I wouldn't say it's game breaking or anything like that, but 10% skill damage bonus, pretty nice.
Yeah.
Um, with the silence. So this is just a point I'll make now, but you don't necessarily have to have Scipio in a march with Guan to get this bonus. As
Yeah,
a matter of fact, you
definitely,
don't even
right?
have to have Guan necessarily in your lineup. You just need the target to be silent. So if anyone's hitting that target with a Guan, then your Scipio is going to get a buff from it.
Yeah, so it's simply like Tomiris's debuff, right? You don't need to
Yep.
apply that debuff. You just hit the target, and if it's silence, your rage will grow 30% faster. You don't need to apply that silence.
Right.
So,
Right. And it's going to be your march that's benefiting from it. So
yeah,
that
definitely.
does make I guess it does make Scipio Flavius a little interesting if you want to get a few seconds of that extra rage, but I wouldn't really go chasing this too much. It's a moderate buff, but not the end of the world, and I wouldn't sacrifice good pairings looking to maximize on this.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, when I take a look at this skill, the first thing that came to my mind was, let's say, Flavius in garrison, and you launch a counter rally with Scipio. Flavius silences the target, and plus Scipio also deals additional damage, so this can trigger uh, Flavius's third skill, in my opinion. So sorry if I'm not mistaken. Let's see. No, it's fourth skill. If target is inflicted by additional damage.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's a nice synergy. Like if Flavius in the garrison, a counter rally from
Yeah.
Scipio could be really nice because there are some decent synergies between them.
Right. Now, if you're familiar with, I believe Wick did a video on this just about how some additional damage does not
Yeah, it does not
count
count,
as
right?
additional damage for schools or for skills. So
Yeah,
that'll be up for testing.
yeah,
Right. We'll want to
definitely. We
see
can probably
how
test it
those
with
two
latent power.
interact with each other. But
Uh,
But regardless, I think if you're hitting the rally with, or even swarming a rally, then you're going to be getting a lot of additional damage buffs.
Yeah, that's right. If you guys didn't know, some additional damage doesn't count like the others. But the only reason that I like almost 100% certain that Scipio's additional damage will, because the wording on the first skill of Flavius is identical with the wording on this third skill of Scipio. Both says dealing continuous additional damage for 3 seconds. So I assume that this will work 100%. I mean, if it doesn't, don't hate on me, but it's just my opinion, people. So
Oh, we'll see again.
yeah, my next question is, so this is going to be 1, 2, 3. Let's say we are using one infantry march and we have all commanders available. Which march would that be?
I kind of, I've been thinking about this one a little bit. It's probably going to be Guan Scipio, I think. Just, you have great damage with Guan. Obviously, a lot of synergy between the two.
Yeah, definitely.
Some very punishing, damage between those two actives. And I want to, if you have Scipio as secondary, good rage build on Guan, you're going to be firing those AOE fans very quickly and getting a lot of silence. So I think there's a lot of synergy. That said, I will be interested to see how Scipio and Harold perform. I think there's a lot of underrated synergy between those two as well.
Yeah, I was I was actually thinking about that, and I had a few questions for you. We will get into that. And next,
Absolutely.
I also, when it comes to Guan Yu and Scipio, I like the fact that, I mean, Leonidas has a conditional shield like 50%. You should be retreating when you're at 50%. For
Yeah,
Guan Yu's
so
expertise. Alexander pops the shield with active skill, so when Alexander is secondary, it is almost impossible for Guan Yu to benefit from that. But Scipio can actually give you that shield anytime, so I really like that. And plus the silence, rage grow, I think it's also really good. Probably my answer would be the same. One march would be Guan and Scipio. And how about two marches? Two infantry marches. Who you gonna use?
two marches. Hmm.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I'd probably go Guan Leo, Scipio, Harold.
And the third one, let's say we are using three marches.
We're gonna say three. I did throw up a question. I was asking this about from people earlier. What would you think is the best three march? I think that's kind of the sweet spot for a lot of players.
Yeah.
If you're running a infantry heavy lineup, you'll be looking for three marches. Um, and again, we're just gonna see how these commanders are when they come out in the test. But if I had to, what I'm thinking I'll be working towards is Guan Leo, either Pakal Herald or Herald Pakal, depending on how I want to adjust my rally tree, and then Scipio with CJ.
Yeah, these are actually great players. And by the way, Benla, thank you so much for subscribing. And when it comes to my account, by the way, I'm a super low spender, like only gem supply, something like that. And right now my players are Guan Leo. My Leo is 5511. Harold Alex. And actually my third player is Etal Takeda. I don't have a third infantry player. So my plan is to stay with Guan and Leo. But I think I'm gonna do Scipio primary, Harold secondary, and I will go back to my OG march, Alexander and YSG as my third march. So my plan is to go 3 infantry plus Atel Takeda. I think for many low spenders like me, this could be 3 decent payers, right? Because most of us already invested on Alexander and YSG, especially as free plays and low spenders.
So I honestly, I think I have mixed feelings on Alex YSG, especially in Season of Conquest.
Ah, yeah,
Um,
that's right. I mean,
yeah, I used it a lot in KVK too, and it was a lot of fun. In terms of how it holds up now, there are alternatives I might consider, might recommend for you. For a while, what I ran was Herald with Sun Tzu. That was a
oh, really?
you
What?
know and yeah, no, don't knock it. It's it's got a surprising amount of rage regen just with that Sun Tzu fan, and you've got health bonus, damage reduction, and 20% skill damage. So Sun Tzu having all buffs instead of stats like most epic commanders kind of makes him a good scale up in later game. There's obviously also Mehmed the Conqueror with the museum buff is very good with Herald.
Oh yeah, that's right. His museum buff is also really good. You're
Yep.
correct.
So you could look for maybe maybe some alternative Herald pairings like that, and then run Scipio with Alex, because again, that might be, we'll see, but I think that might be a very strong march as well.
Yeah, definitely. My only concern is that I mean, Scipio has 25% movement speed, Alex has 30%. Maybe just for
Yep.
movement speed reasons, splitting them into two different marches might be better for marches to go
For
with
your
the
other marches,
almost
I see
equal
what you're
speed.
saying. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
So yeah, please go ahead.
I do know a lot of people are kind of curious about where their Alex is going to end up once they add Scipio into their lineup, and for some of your later game mid spenders, that may just end up where Alex has to sort of be a bench warmer.
Yeah.
He's a fantastic commander, and it's hard to see him go, but and for your later gen players, you're starting to invest in Gen 6. Now is the time where some of those Gen 2 commanders are going to start becoming sort of more utility, right? Like I still use Alex and Ark of Osiris as well as Champions of Olympia, but
That's right.
maybe I swap to something with more skill damage in the field. But
Yeah.
that's obviously going to vary from player to player.
Yeah, definitely. But Alex, I mean, I love him. I used him for so long. Like, even though if suddenly he becomes useless now, I still don't hate it because like I benefit from him for so long. So, but he's still here. He's not
Not
going anywhere. I mean, Alex is
right, and
amazing.
not useless. He'll just be slightly. He's now slightly, I'd say, less optimal than other pairings, but you're not. You're doing fine if you're bringing him on the field. So
Yeah, definitely, definitely. So my next
yeah,
question is for that I need to yes bring my game screen. Just a second. All right, I think it's now okay. So my next question is it's about Scipio and Herald. So since Scipio has support tree, how do you say like about rejuvenate? In support tree, it's
rejuvenate.
yeah
Yeah.
instantly restores 150 rage whenever skill is used, and since Herald can actually pop his skill again and again with 20% chance, I think this could be like I see a really nice synergy between them. How you feel about Scipio and Herald? Because most people
Yeah.
don't want to
So
split their Guan Yu and Leonidas.
right. If you're sitting there with Scipio, we'll see when he comes out how he trades with Harold. I've seen for the most part Harold trades fairly well
Yeah,
with most commanders, though I've never been too much of a fan of Juan and Harold together. But I think Scipio will should work a little better, especially with that extra tankiness from the support tree. If you go down to that bottom skill, emergency protection, I believe it's called,
hmm
in the support tree, that's going to be really nice in the field, just as reliable, a reliable skill damage reduction.
yeah, definitely.
Um,
If
and some
Please go ahead. I was just gonna say one thing because my game screen is too small right now. If you guys cannot read the skill emergency, I mean the talent emergency protection, it says when troops led by this commander take skill damage, there's a 50% chance that they will gain an additional 15% skill damage reduction for next 3 seconds. So this is an amazing skill on the support tree. So please go ahead, Duke.
Yeah, and you combine that with the all around 9% damage reduction that's higher up in that tree. Sorry, skill damage reduction that's up in that tree, as well as some of the skills on the left side of the infantry tree, which you should always go for. It'll have a bit of tankiness in that tree.
Yeah, health
Something I'm
bonus,
also
strong
interested
body,
in.
like there are great skills. Hold the line.
Yep, hold the line, fantastic skill.
That's right.
You
Definitely,
know,
I agree with
really,
that.
really the best skill in the infantry tree. But something I'm interested in with Flavius and Harold that I'll be looking forward to using is Snare of Thorns.
Oh, Snare of Thorns. So this one,
Yep.
let me show you guys
So
the skill.
if you don't know, Snare of Thorns is triggered also based off of your active skill. So similar to emergency protection, you're going to be able to proc that anytime Herald casts his active, and that has an area of effect to it. That's the one on the end, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's right.
So right there. So it goes all the way up to 25% march speed reduction for 3 seconds on 5 targets.
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah. Also,
Yep.
just like you said, it also triggers with the skill, active skill. So again, the same synergy that we have on Rejuvenate.
Yeah, yeah. So each turn Herald's casting is active, you're getting that 150 rage as well as 25% area of effect um, march speed reduction. That's a pretty nasty pair for trapping marches,
Yeah,
especially
definitely.
if you want to have that in your murder ball with all the speed Scipio has, it's going to be able to stay on the target and really trap them for your other marches to catch those low health marches.
Yeah, that's gonna be great. I mean, I think CPO, like just like Guan and CPO, CPO primary Herald. By the way, would you use CPO as primary or secondary or for CPO and Herald? I keep saying
For
primary,
Scipio
but
and Herald,
yeah.
um, I'd have to see it in the field. Now, the nice part about the support tree is the little tricks like that. Again, it's more durable, and also you have that advantage of using Scipio first. You want that you do want that defense or that health reduction on his primary skill
Oh yeah,
to
yeah, his
fire
first skill,
first.
right?
Yeah, and obviously the synergy with Herald and the support tree. But if you do, the skill tree does have more just in general damage, especially for skill buffs.
That's
Right?
right. That's right.
There's a good amount of rage regeneration in that tree as well. So it may be that you're going to get more damage out of Herald Scipio, and a lot of people will prefer to go for that.
Hmm.
Or if you're looking at your 5 march and you're looking for more variety, Scipio primary would probably be better.
Yeah. One more question: do you think that CPO will also be like Pakal CPO or CPO Herald, Herald CPO could be a rally meta, or is it gonna be Pakal and Herald?
Um, I think we're just gonna have to wait and see. I think, like you brought up, Scipio might be an interesting counter rally meta, and
Yes.
he might, he's got a lot of really great damage to him. I think, we're absolutely going to be seeing some testing with him and probably Harold. I think
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
Harold probably. I would assume Harold primary, and then you run Harold Scipio against Jadwiga, and we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, definitely. Can I ask some questions before we finish from the chat?
Yeah, absolutely.
So let me go up a little bit. Can I ask for Duke title? Yeah, sure. Go ahead. So Shocks asks, was going to invest in Leo for my Guan. Should I still do that or get Scipio instead? Won't be able to expertise Scipio though. Shocks, Duke already said that minimum investment for Scipio is 5551, so he is usable at 5511. You don't necessarily need to max him, but of course the max is better. And I think your question also depends on how many marches you have. If only you're gonna have one infantry march, don't go for Leo, go for Scipio instead and go on. And Scipio is, Duke said, he's the best player right now for infantry. But if you're gonna go 2 or 3 infantry marches, Leo is a must-have. Especially he is super usable, super nice with 5511 for free to plays and low spenders. So that will be my answer. What you saying, Duke, about this question?
Yeah, I agree. I think Leo is just kind of has to be on the back burner now with when you have Scipio, and again Harold is just fantastic. I even tell people, when you're heading into Season of Conquest with just Alex, Harold's the best,
Yeah, I
immediate
love it.
upgrade
I
from
love
there.
it.
We'll see if Scipio takes that place, especially since he has a better minimum investment than Harold. But Harold's just fantastic. He is great for just collecting kills.
Yeah, do you use Harold with Alex or
I
Pakal?
have so I've used Harold with just about every pairing I can get away with. When I started using him, it was very early into Season of Conquest. You still had the old, very powerful Crystal Tech trees,
Oh yeah,
so
yeah,
you had
yeah.
a lot of you had a lot of defense tech, and Martel and Harold was just a fantastic pairing at that time. I don't necessarily recommend it now. I think it doesn't hold up too well, especially with all the big damage commanders you get in the field now. But at the time, I used it pretty well. It was a lot of fun to use. It's
Nice.
kind of like a mini Bacall at the time.
Yeah. So,
After that, swapped to Harold and Alex together.
uh-huh.
Really big fan of those two.
I am also a big fan of those two. But a question for you: Harold Alex or Alex Harold?
Oh, actually, I prefer Harold Alex.
Yeah, I recently released a guide because I always used Alex Primary, and on that guide, my Herald was level 40, and I told people that I haven't maxed him because for some reason, I always preferred Attack Tree, but some of our subscribers told me to use Herald instead as primary, and I count on those words, and I maxed my Herald, got him to level 60, and now I love Herald Alex. Like, it's crazy.
Right. I think there's something to be said for both because I have run both.
Yeah.
Um, with Alex Primary, it holds better when multiple marches are targeting because it's got better, swarming abilities in that attack tree.
Oh, yeah, yeah, sure.
Um,
That's right.
I even went ahead and grabbed Martial Mastery, even though people wouldn't want to debuff. People think it's bad to debuff your skill damage. I just liked it for the counterattack because that's sort of how I rate that pair.
Yeah, me
Just in
too.
how great
Counterattack, yeah.
the attack and counterattack is in there. Um, so yeah, if you wanna focus on sort of those kind of baity swarm trades, then it's difficult, right? It's not easy to take great swarm trades because it's not like the call where you can just send it and forget it. You
Yeah.
have to find very favorable trades for you, and if you put yourself in the right position and the enemy overextends on you, then yeah, you can get some fantastic trades with the March. Herald's primary just makes more sense in a lot of ways. Faster rage regen. You're not going to get that Alex shield over Harold's skill damage, so that's going to be more attack for Harold's skill damage.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, I liked
Um,
Harold Alex actually more than Alex Harold, to be fair.
yeah, no, it's a fantastic pair,
Yeah.
and I definitely recommend people work with Harold primary. Also, and this is very personal, but like in varying by player to player, but I've found Harold primary gets targeted much less than Alex primary.
Yeah, I was about to say the same thing. Like, for some reason, I guess people
Yeah,
just assume that Alexander will have, like, YSG secondary behind him. So
right,
when they see
right.
Alexander,
That's
they just
very common.
go for it. And But Harold, that's not the same
It
thing. That's not the same case.
Yep. It's also the case that Alex is a debuff, just Harold doesn't. People see Harold, they think bad counterattack trades, not that much in a debuff that I need to clear off the
Yeah,
field
yeah, the
anyway. I'm just
psychology
going to
is
move on
crazy.
to something like XY.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. Like when they see
So,
Harold, they all,
great psychology there.
yeah, they immediately think about that counterattack damage and they try to find another target. It's crazy. Uh, One more question. I don't know if we can actually answer that, but I'm gonna ask this in a different way. HM says, do you still advise to max Nevsky? I mean, this all depends on your commander arsenal. But let's say you have a max XY, and I don't know, you have a max Guan Yu. Which commander would you go for? Nevsky for XY or Scipio for Guan Yu?
Well, I guess it kind of just, like you said, depends on the lineup. Nevsky is a monster. If you're a field focused person, then you should be going for both of them. You don't need to max both of them right away, and it's just an unbelievable amount of damage. So
Yeah, Nevsky's
these are the
crazy too.
commanders you want to be focusing on before Scipio came on the field, or well, before he was announced. Cavalry, I would say, had the three. fast open field commanders with Jean Yu, Nevsky, and William. All three just fantastic
Yeah,
commanders for
all
anybody
crazy commanders,
that's
right?
playing. With Scipio, we'll see.
Yeah, definitely. And so I cannot, I can obviously cannot read this name because it is Chinese or Japan, I don't know. But he says, "Hey Spartan, I have a question. For infantry player, a free-to-play player, should I still invest or try to get Saladin?"
No, no. Well, if you're in, those early KVKs, there's a case to make Saladin because Saladin is fantastic with William. That's a march that I use.
Yeah,
Excellent support value, especially in an infantry lineup because it's tanky and you get a lot of buffs for your commanders. But if you're in Season of Conquest, you definitely should not invest in any Gen 2 commanders.
yeah. I
Besides,
think the time is
unless
done
you're
for them,
spender
right?
going for daily chests.
Oh
What
yeah,
was that?
that's a good way to upgrade daily chess. And I said the time
Yeah.
for Gen 2 commanders are almost done, right? You don't want to waste your
It's
sculptures.
done definitely in terms of where you're investing your heads. And I'd even say that, it's starting to come up for Gen 3 now.
Yeah,
Um, we're starting to get less and less excuses to be investing gold heads in Gen 3 commanders.
yeah. So Dark Knight says Scipio Herald looks very nice. I think I will go with Pakal and CJ. So he's gonna go with Scipio
Pakal,
Herald and Pakal and CJ. How do you feel about Pakal and CJ?
Pakal and CJ is actually a surprisingly good march because with Pakal, you've got sort of that just don't hit me sign on him where no one
Yeah,
no one
just go
wants to
ahead
touch
and find
Pakal
somebody
ever.
else, right?
And CJ really likes sort of staying on target and building up that damage of his.
Yeah,
So I didn't we didn't get to talk about it really, but Scipio CJ I think is going to be a really solid march for people who are looking for that three merge setup
yeah. We definitely missed that. That's right.
because yeah, I think people who run Guan CJ tend to like the damage that those two have, and that's gonna Scipio's gonna sort of fill that same role for CJ.
Yeah. And one last question, and I selected the hardest one. Kurdravi says, I'm in a dilemma. I've been working on Pakal and got him to 5511. I was planning on maxing him, but should I stop now?
That's a good question.
Yeah.
uh,
Let's see.
so I'm not gonna say Pakal is necessarily bad now because I maxed Pakal for rallies. I would have rathered gone for XY for field, but he is, while people tend to have mixed opinions of him, he is still basically the best trading infantry commander right now.
Definitely.
Him
Yeah,
and
for sure.
him and Harold. Even obviously you can't get those max tech all gold equipment trades if you're a low spender, but if you want to just run those two in an altar or something like that with T4, then it's impossible to get a bad trade. Yeah, they're just the damage reduction on it. It's a fantastic march for just going around and sort of keeping on the field.
Yeah, I mean, Pakal Herald is just crazy. Just almost send him and forget him. Like, he's gonna come back
Yeah,
with
yeah,
good
exactly.
trades.
It's got that it's got the same thing that Attila has going for it, where it's just hard to remove off the field and very annoying to deal with. And then you also have obviously Harold's instant skill damage. So I
Yeah.
know a lot of people don't like it. I've had a lot of fun with it. If I'm a field player right now, I would say it's probably not a big priority to have a call, but it wouldn't necessarily be a waste not to, go ahead and max them.
Yeah, definitely.
But
Like, he's
if
not.
I'm sitting,
Yeah, please go ahead.
oh, okay, yeah, if I'm sitting with a 5511 call right now, what I'm thinking is I'm probably gonna get a 5551 Scipio and then maybe circle back to call.
That's a good plan.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good one because you already said it. You don't necessarily have to max CPO immediately. So here's your answer. You can go for a 5551 CPO. then go back to Pakal. Pakal is definitely not a high priority investment for a field player, but it is not the worst to have a max Pakal, because Pakal Herald will always get the best traits for an infantry player. Guys, we talked about Flavius, we talked about Scipio, their skills, their best payers, their best uses, minimum investment, all that good stuff, and we talked about them, all of them, with the best player we could ever have as a guest here, Duke from the Infantry Fortress. On the pinned message you can find the link, the Discord link to the Infantry Fortress. Definitely go ahead and check it out. Even if you have one infantry march, you will find a lot of information on that Discord. Duke, thank you so much for being here. Do you have anything else to say? I mean, it was a pleasure to have you here to review the infantry commanders. I mean, literally, you were the best person that I could ever ask for to review those commanders.
Hey, it was a, I was very happy that invited me here. Just glad to talk about infantry anytime.
Yeah, thank you so much.
And yeah,
You are the infantry beast. Like, I always, I mean, I've started this channel like 3 months ago, but almost for 2 years. I don't know how long when you created Infantry Fortress, but the moment I saw it,
oh, I didn't. Just to clarify, I didn't actually make the infantry fortress. That was three. There's a there's a fantastic infantry player over in Kingdom 1365,
oh,
Azen, and he is the founder. I've done a lot of work with the infantry fortress. It's a fantastic community. I've been glad to um, contribute as much as I can. But definitely, all credit to Azen for building that community at the start.
yeah. So thank you, Ethan. I didn't know that. I'm sorry. All credits to you. And guys, you can see the Discord on my screen. Like, there is infantry discussion, pairings, gear, open field discussion, events, like even skill trees for every single commander. So definitely go ahead and check it out. I'm gonna I'm gonna wake up in like 5 hours to go to work. It's almost 2 a.m. in my country, so I have to cut this right now. Everybody, I would love to speak more with Duke about the infantry, because I'm also an infantry main for a low spender, but I have to go ahead and sleep. Otherwise, my wife is going to kill me. So thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for watching and liking the stream. I see you guys on the next one. And Duke, thank you so much again. Goodbye.
Spartan, have a great rest of your night.
Thanks so much. Bye bye.
Take care.